Hey, what is up, everybody? How's it going? Get this all set up. Well, it looks like so far we got Pudgy in here, we got Large Marge, Lanky's in here, Roger, Rick has already retracted a message, JMZ 555. So Kenny just was outside, so Kenny, who just planned the North Bend Rail Trail trip that we rode with. Hey, what's up, Patrick? We missed you on Tuesday. Jay Dandy. Yeah, so Kenny, who planned our trip, just stopped by. We were just chatting. He from Missing Falls Brewery here in Akron. He dropped off their Mexican lager, Sol Naciente, 5%. It's a lager with lime. Never had this one. What does Sol mean? Sun. What does naciente mean? Ciente would be an adjective, so it's an adjective describing the sun. No sun, maybe, because we're in Ohio. I'm guessing that might be what it means. Not enough sun, something like that. Someone Google that for us. Oh, hey, what's up, Keith? Did I say what's up to Jay Dandy? I see he popped up in here. Dylan's up here with an avocado. Ooh, almost went a little too much. I actually just got to try a couple other good cocktails and beers tonight because I was down at Asterisk. AJ, one of our riding buddies, has a roast his own coffee, like third wave coffee style, downtown Akron, and has a coffee bar. Then here in Cuyahoga Falls, Kyle, I said the name of my own city wrong. Opened a coffee shop slash man cocktail bar, but he's been obviously closed on the inside since the pandemic. They were having a staff meeting, so I was down there photographing the craft beers they're going to have and their spring cocktails when they do open back up. Sometime in May is their plan. So that'll be awesome. That'll be a that spot is beautiful. It's a really cool spot. If you live in this area, it's definitely worth popping in. And if you live in the general area, it's worth popping in and making a trip out of it. Oh, Naciente, Patrick says, is Rising Sun. So Rising Sun Lager. Rick said on his iPad he's unable to tag people, so if you don't know who I'm talking about, assume it's you. I've noticed that even from I've had that problem even with mobile when I'm in other chats on live streams. If I do if I type it correctly, it will show up, but it doesn't give you that drop down menu to make you know you did it. But it usually will, just for the record. So that's tasty. Yeah, the beers we were drinking over at Asterix were there were three IPAs. Two were like hazies, like the modern hazy type ones you would expect. One was a double IPA that actually had more of a hazy look, but had that classic high IBU, a lot of bitterness. And then the third one was a barrel aged, just an oak barrel aged mixed fermentation IPA, which with pear juice, which was delicious. And then some of the newer people that AJ has over there, he was teaching how to make the cocktails, and then they had their spring cocktail menu that I photographed. So I got to take a couple sips of all of them, and they were great. What else is everybody? So Rick said Tim was photographing beers. There has to be a chicken in the henhouse reference in there somewhere. There has been a couple nights where me and AJ have. Well, one night I think it was a wine rep brought in all these natural wines, and a couple of the staff were getting trained on cocktails, and it's only a mile and a half down the road for me, thank God. But I definitely uh, it was a it was a ride home that I wouldn't recommend to the unexperienced. Yeah, exactly. Like they have cocktails at Asterisk. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, so they will. So now they had cocktails when they first opened. The pandemic hit. They did do you could have carry out cocktails when that became a thing, but yeah, pretty soon it'll be a bar again in the evening. And they really focus, just like they focus on like high end, like I don't want to put words in their mouth because I don't know all the right words about the coffee, but it's almost all, I would say, single origin. You know, like small growers is kind of what they focus on, and then they roast it themselves. The same thing will be true of cocktails, where they're not trying to have a mass market cocktail bar. It'll be focused on the ingredients that are in the cocktails and the booze that goes into the cocktails. So, yeah, it's a smart, if you think about it, smart strategy, because if you're just a coffee shop, I mean, yes, you could have some evening business, but it's not going to be, what a coffee shop does in the morning. So switching over to be a nice coffee bar in the cocktail bar in the evening makes a ton of sense. So, Lanky says he's gonna. Oh, Lanky, I did. I talked to a couple guys. Lanky said he's gonna need to plan a ride down to Akron and bring a tent in case he can't make it home. I did build a little bedroom in the basement here, so now I have a guest room. So down where I keep my bikes, there is a little bit of a. There's a place to crash and a place to work on your bike before you roll out. So. And a barf bucket. Oh, there's a floor drain, so just make sure you hose it down well enough after you. So let's see. Large Marge said he had a pregame drink. He has an Urban Artifacts Spyglass, which is a lemon lime tart. And I believe that Rick had commented early on. Already commented on that. Are you allowed to say that lime tart is not politically correct anymore? Pudgy had Hop Valley Brewing Co. I've never heard of that one. You'll have to let us know that where they're from. There's two of them. He has a Stash Panda Hazy IPA with cryo hops. I've heard of that, yeah. And then he has a Mango and Stash, which says Mango IPA. Cryo hops. Maybe I haven't heard of that. Let's see what that's all about. Lanky was drinking a Berkshire Martinez. Is that named after Danny Martinez? Because you like him now that he's not on EF anymore. Man, that joke's a deep cut. No one besides Lanky will probably get that. Or one other dude who really likes the pro cycling. I don't think he watches the live streams, but he's all. Nicholas had the pinkies out coffee sip after that. And JMZ has a Borderland India Pale Ale. I must have had Borderland, 42 North Brewing from East Aurora, New York. That packaging, that labeling just looks super familiar to me, but I can't remember what I've had from them. Citrus, balanced, their flagship. Yeah, it looks super familiar. Let's see if... Oh, there's Marge rolling with his beer, so let me get these up here. Full screen. So I assume he's rolling home from work with his beers from Mustard Seed, because it looks like a Mixer Sixer. Looks like he has something like a zombie dust in there too. Yeah. Let's see where I am since I've been rambling. Dylan said Urban Stealth Blackout Camping Trend Watch. Pudgy said they're from Eugene, Oregon, so those beers he was drinking, and they're just okay. William just popped in. Hey, William, your photos on Instagram, I was really curious about what that ride you did was. It looked like it was kind of like a fat bikepacking trip. If you don't follow William on Instagram, you should, but also check it out. Yeah, it looked like you guys were on an interesting gravel trip. I meant to make a note to ask to say the name and ask what that was, but I totally forgot. So, yeah. Dylan said you made a huge mistake. Yeah, Lanky's the classy. Usually is, I think, a little classier than the rest of us, right? I was also looking at Lanky posted a cool photo of his bike here today, which I'm really curious to where that's at. And then Also, Lanky, I haven't seen your. I know you posted a video today. I had I had two shoots today and hadn't had a chance to check it out yet. But I saw your Instagram stories, and now I'm really curious to where you found those trails. So I'll have to, yeah, get with you on that and see where you found some of those little off-road trails that look like they connected back up to the towpath. But yeah, same thing. If let's see if I could drop some links to the stuff I'm talking about in here. So I don't think it should be too far back to just scroll, but there we go. Yeah, follow Lanky if you're not already. There's his YouTube channel in the chat. He just dropped a new video today, my top 5 pieces of cycling kit. Like I said, I just haven't had the chance to check it out yet. So. Yeah, the other thing I had up there was the, whoops, wrong button, that I thought was interesting before I clicked away from where I wanted to be. Oh, here we go. So I'd put a couple polls up, which I'm assuming the algorithm shows them to the people who watch this channel. But I thought the helmet one was kind of interesting. It got a lot of responses, well, for a poll on my channel. I was talking about how I actually rode without a helmet the other day because I'd put my hat on. I usually have my cap on like I do now. And the other day I wasn't wearing one, so I put my cap on, then got my bike ready to leave. But it like had satisfied that like phone, keys, wallet, like experience. So putting something on my head made me think I had my helmet on, and I was riding the single speed for a totally chill ride. So I was saying like when I got back into riding, I never wore a helmet. I don't think, and I think Large Marge wore one once in a while. AJ, whose bar I was just at, he always wore it, but he was usually, I remember being the only one wearing it, and now we always wear them no matter what. So with the poll results, always wear them was 62%, never wear them was 6%, most of the time was 25%, and once in a while was 6%. So the overwhelming majority usually wear a helmet. And then the comments were that like it seemed to be like the people were saying they weren't wearing them, were driving to a bike path on a day where they were going to be like chilling and cruising on that bike path kind of. But as we mentioned in the last video, we had all it was a hot day, taking off our helmets. We're riding down a bike path for the next 30 miles, and then Aaron caught this wire you couldn't even see and went over the bars. So now it's got me back to the idea of just wear the helmet no matter what, because you never know what's going to happen. Aaron actually showed me her foot. She's helping out with the booze selection and some marketing stuff over at the coffee bar, cocktail bar as well. So she was with me, but she showed me her foot. Her foot is black and blue all the way down and specifically bruised in a spot. So I think we were so focused on her dislocated finger, we didn't realize it was her foot that caught that wire. But when you see it now, there's no mistake. But yeah, so now it's like, now I'm like, hey, I'm just going to wear the helmet. Once in a while, it's nice to take off, and you notice taking it off. But when it's just on, I feel like it's like your seatbelt. It feels different to have it off. So Patrick said he didn't see the poll in time. He would have said most of the time. Yeah. Oh, William was talking. So I was asked about William's LeBron's bikepacking trip that I saw his Instagram post on. He said it was an overnighter bikepacking trip. It was a blast. First day was a lot of climbing. Okay, yeah. It's always, that's the thing, from Instagram stories or photographs in general, unless you're like looking out over a crazy view, it's hard to convey that there's a lot of climbing. It looked like really cool gravel roads. Oh, Aaron said, unless we were riding on a path, not expecting there to be weird wire loops in the path. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, who would ever expect that? So, Oh, Lanky was talking about his drink, and he said he had to make up for his unclassiness in every other respect. William, we did take the wire out. Large Marge, I think he took someone's like multi tool that actually had a little wire cutter on it. I thought this thing was way too thick to cut. Like I said, it's like a wire coat hanger is what it looked like, but he was able to cut the one side out. Even when I was talking to Kenny when he dropped off the Magic City beer tonight, I was telling him how her foot was messed up. That's what caught it. And then he's like, well, when I got there, it was just a wire. How would that catch your foot? And I was like, well, it was in at both ends till Large Marge actually made sure that nobody would ever have that problem again. So, yeah, we did get it out. I can't imagine. I'm still surprised they did. When I was talking, I was kind of in shock and worried about Aaron, and I was like, you'll never get that thing out. So, but he did. So, Rick said he wears two helmets. One is much smaller than the other. Yeah, double bag it, right? Yeah. Rick is actually Darth helmets. Oh, so William was saying his bike packing trip is presented by Salsa. They do it every year here in Mexico, in Michigan. So yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'll have to put in what you had put as your the title of the ride and type in Salsa and look that up. That sounded really cool. So, or the pictures looked really cool. Dylan, the wire wasn't from the so as a lot of people know who know the North Brent Rail Trail, because between me and Large Marge and Aaron's Instagram posts, a lot of people had been asking us if the North Bend Rail Trail was still torn up because they were running fiber optics down it. The fiber optics were going in three very distinct colored tubes. You see them where you go over the bridge. So they were done with the project, it looks like, for the most part, but you could see where they were going in. But fiber optic cables, the ones that were when you saw them exposed. Sorry, I saw a super chat come through. It's going to see if it post up before I keep rambling.
The lanky cyclist super chatted $1.99. How many holes do we have on this ship?
Thanks, Lanky. Too many. But yeah, so it's all put back together. But anyways, the fiber optics are like, you could see them. They're very stringy, like as fiber optics are. This was, like I said, like a coat hanger that was looped around. So we did not cut the fiber optic construction. So, oh, Pudgy was asking about the name of the ride, and William was saying that is it, the Sub 48. Nice. Salsa Fargo Sub 48 ride. Rick said, what if the wire is load bearing and now the earth will fall apart? This was a remnant. I'm trying to think if it ever would have carried power, but it was thick. Even like I've even seen electric lines, they're usually braided, so who knows what it was. And then William was saying the ride he did sells out real quick. Yeah. Am I doing my usual good job of talking about three things at once? So. Oh, what's up, Obsolescence? He said he caught a nasty wire not too long ago also. He thinks it was baling wire. Obsolescence, a couple summers ago where I ride down, and I'm sure you do too, Howard Street, right before I cut across on Olive to the hospital, there was a wire that was down. It was out in the street, and it blew my mind like the first three times that I didn't catch my handlebars on it. And this is just on a normal road. But then I was aware of it. But it's always on my way out, and every time like I need to call the city or the electric company or whoever it is to get rid of this thing. But then at the beginning of a ride, by the time I get home, I would never remember about it till, the next time I was out there on my ride. So super frustrating. One of those things, like, Aaron, like I said, Aaron kept asking if it was her fault, and I'm like, no, nobody saw that. When we were at the back, everybody rode by, you know, without seeing it. It was just a freak accident, but I'm glad we cleared it up so it'll never happen to well, Large Marge cleared it up so it'll never happen to anyone again, you know. But oh yeah, then real quick jump over to the other poll. So this is a week old, not as many votes, but just it's kind of interesting. Like, I really don't know how. Oh, it was a Spaceballs reference. Yes, I got you now. Yeah. How many holes do we have on this ship? Yeah. But I wish the polls would show more. I think it shows more on mobile than on desktop. But I was just curious as how many people are planning multi-day summer bike trips, and that one came in at 84% to 16%. So yes, saying that they were planning biking trips, which is just kind of interesting to me because that's one of my main goals is to do as many as possible this summer, even if some of them are just quick overnighters. So how many a-holes do we? Yeah, I read that totally wrong, Mikey. And I love Spaceballs, so I'm surprised it got by me. But and then Rick's reference to the adventure van thing is one thing I've just been kind of interested in, and we kind of chatted about in the Discord. Is so if you don't follow Decline, he's done and like, he sold off this little old camper van thing he had that was this underpowered camper van, and then he bought like a kind of like a transit thing, small transit van that he's going to convert into like basically a camper. And then he also did a tour of a friend's bike that is a mountain biker who has all his like bike stuff and camping stuff in a van. So I was just kind of like, it got me thinking. I read that like comment from Rusty, who said he was out for a trail run tonight, so he wouldn't be in here early on, about how it seemed like such a cool idea. And it got me thinking. And when I was then like making lunch, I was like, well, I don't think that's something I need in like this part of the country. But then I was thinking of what, like a van that you could set up for camping and hauling all your bike stuff and your camping stuff, where would you need it? Then I'm thinking, well, out west if you did longer trips. And then the other thing I was thinking is if you had a family, so, you're going to go to a spot to camp, set up, if you have a small child or a couple and a wife, and then you just want to do some like quick trails, then it would be your way to, you know, hey, everything's set up, we're out here, but now I could go ride these trails I wouldn't normally get to ride. That I was also thinking with Decline. He lives where it rains all the time. So what me and Aaron have done since we've been together, we've a lot of times, like as I showed on the last live stream, like booked a lean-to or stuff like that. So we do have some protection against the rain beyond the tent, but it's still fairly primitive camping. But if you live somewhere where it generally really does rain all the time, I could see how old tent camping would get. The second night on the North Bend Rail Trail, like I said, being spring here in this part of the country, it rained all night, and by the end of the night, there was water coming into the tent. So I could totally understand if that was your reality all the time. On our bike packing trips, like we've had two situations where the rain became annoying. Most other times, like all the other times combined, the rain hasn't been a factor. It's been when we were out on the trail or minor. So I could totally see where that would become way more of an important thing if you were someone who lived where it rains all the time. For us, we usually try to ride from home, and we have decent places in this part of Ohio to ride. But the other thing is, we can get enough of what we need in a car with bike racks. And now Aaron bought that car that has a triple bike rack setup. But even before that, my Matrix can fit two bikes inside and enough of our stuff. You could always drive more cars if you're not going that far, or rental cars, which is what we've done. Like on Ohio to Erie, we ride down, and then in Cincinnati we rent a full cab pickup truck, put all the bikes in the back. We all have a full cab and drive back. So I was just thinking about the concept. I'm like, I totally understand why it's relevant to some people, but in Ohio and with my group of friends, it's not that relevant to my life. So I don't need to sleep inside a vehicle. Most of the time, I'm fine in the tent. And also, there's enough now with hipcamp.com. And if you guys haven't checked that out, it's a thing totally worth checking out. Like that's where we stayed in that little lean-to. You know, that was a great for me 68-mile ride, large marge, 50-mile ride from where he came from. And then we had a spot that would have kept you out of the weather too if you didn't feel like packing a tent. So, but I was looking at some photos of what people have done, and they are super sweet. And you could see why you would be like, but again, I think mountain bikers. So if you're going to drive to a place, I think, whoops, wrong button, how much more sense it would make. So if you're going to ride mountain bike trails, I could definitely understand why that would be important. And also, I think if you're like mountain biking was your main thing, you would be looking to have more than just your mountain bike with you. Say you wanted to do a gravel bike ride and a mountain bike ride and stuff like that. Like having like some kind of adventure setup like this with all your gear would make more sense. These are super cool. Like none of us wouldn't want one. I'm just saying need for the money you would spend in there. But yeah, I definitely see it as more of like if you need to have multiple bikes on your trip because you're going to travel farther, or if you're really driving to do mountain bike trails, the family thing, or living somewhere where it just rains all the time and you want to sit inside comfortable somewhere, you know. Lanky said something about ski trips, which makes sense because, you know, if you rig it up so you could run a heater from your battery, you know, they put in overpowered batteries into these kind of things, you know. Rick said he plans to pass out by the side of the road one night. Does that count? Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, Dylan was saying more of a mountain bike thing. But see here, you like looking at the one I have on screen now. You could see over on the one side are more of like it looks like 32 mil road bikes, like a Surly over there, and then the mountain bikes on the other side. So yeah, and then the sleeping on the top, which is super cool, super awesome setup. All the shoes in the door. Yeah, and there are times when you're like, you know, I wish I could ride my road bike to the mountain bike trails, but he has like a bike wash system set up in the back there. I was the same guy. He has a work stand built into the door. So Patrick was saying he's hoping to buy a traveling van around the time he retires and then hit the road for a while. Yeah, and long trips, that would be the other thing that would be really valuable for. If you're really trying to travel and hit up a bunch of different spots to ride, but not spend the time like doing what traveling through does, is just straight riding across the country, that would be another reason that would be what you'd want to invest in, I think. Rick was saying the nice thing about the van is the security. I definitely agree with that. Aaron's rack came with like a nice hefty lock for the back, but yeah, but it's also you don't see in all the windows and stuff like that as well. Patrick was saying bikes and surfboards strapped to the roof for what he's planning to do. Look at this one, how cool that is with the fold out awning. Oh, it's motorcycles there, but oh, that's an interesting one. I'm wondering how you need to see more photos of what that one does. How the pop-up camper out of the top of the van, bike hanging in the back. I think that might be the different ones. I just thought like I went down this rabbit hole, so I was like, I'll do the image search and pop some of these up here because they are really really cool. Like I'm saying, I don't think any of us wouldn't want these, but how feasible they are for how we actually ride is kind of more of the issue, I would think. It is for me, you know. I'd still rather have the money invested in the bikes and the trips. My biggest lack of asset is the time, right? Not the, I'm not limited by van life. That's a cool one with the pop up top for the camper there. Jay Dandy asked if doesn't everyone have a sag van following around. I just really enjoyed scrolling through these before I came on. I'm like, people do amazing stuff, and if you have the resources just to hit the road and like go enjoy stuff like this, yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, or if you save your money, I feel like I'm always going to be a mix. I'm always going to be like working just hard enough so I could do some of this stuff. Like I don't necessarily want to wait till I retire to, you know, early 40s. I'm in good health now, so I want to have some of these like 5 day trips or 3 day trips or 2 day trips. Um, Look how cool that interior is. That's pretty badass. Like I said, these aren't curated. I'm straight up just Googled bicycle adventure vans, I think, and a couple other things. So obsolescence was saying the care and feeding for those. I think probably that meant fueling for those vans can't be too cheap. Yeah, I've read a little bit about that going both ways, where you can get like it seems like under 10 grand seems like it gets you something that you can convert into something, but then depending on how handy you are, would be how much you have to put into converting it. There's always going to be materials. You can't change that cost, but if you can do it yourself, it seems like you can come out like 12 to 14 grand making something pretty amazing. And when you think of what a modern, I only buy piece of shit used cars, but when you think of what a modern car costs, it could be it could be doable. And I think a lot of people that probably follow this channel's budget, but again, how doable is taking advantage of a vehicle like this? Is it going to be mostly sitting in your driveway because you don't have the time to get out there? Um, Obsolescence said Prius and tow hitch rack is how you do it, and that's kind of the our vibe. It's if we do want to drive somewhere, it's a car with a bike rack. I think he says you might never make it to retirement, do fun stuff today. I have no plan for retirement as far as I am, so that's definitely the way I want to live. Like he said, oh, you guys are talking about the Surleys and the Bear Claws as always. Yeah. Hey, Farley, what's up? He said, new guy been lurking from Streetsboro for a bit, saying hi. So yeah, Farley, me and Large Marge were out in Kent last night riding some trails. Linky said he hopes Farley from Streetsboro rides a truck Farley. Yep. That's just how we got to do the. Oh, is that where truck got that? Is that actually like in a van down by the river? So, so he does got the truck. Yeah, if you want to drop a picture, we'll pull it up on the live stream. Go to this little, it's like a message board website where we drop bike photos, and then I'll share them and talk about them. Then I can pull them up on the live stream here. So if my robot will drop that link for me. Yeah, I have 3 trucks. I have my mountain bike, which is the bike I've owned the longest, but is one of the newer bikes I own. Truck 1500, which is my trainer bike, and then my Truck 500, which is a 1982 truck, which I use as my touring bike. So, but now I've kind of eschewed trucks lately. Is that a word? Shoot, I don't think it was. Yeah, I'd be curious. So the guys that follow out west, like Patrick and stuff, I feel like that the adventure van thing might be more, might be more like a thing out west where the distances are greater, and makes more sense. Oh, Rick said Tim's Chris Farley impersonation is worse than his English accent, and I didn't think that was possible. Have you heard my Australian accent? Because that's pretty bad. Oh, Jay Dandy said he rode past the studio, and we were in Kent. We did Freedom Trail, Jay Dandy, so we weren't doing hiking bikes, so that might be how we passed each other at the same time. Yeah, because I went down to Dirty River Bicycle Works downtown. We rode the Freedom Trail out. Then we did a little bit of a detour to go off road, where Large Marge had a cool little spot to drink a beer. Then we rode over to the Moon Tower Trails out by your house, but then we also took the Freedom Trail back. You don't like my English accent? Did you get a puncture? Have a mechanical? William LeBron threw up a photo. I think this is his. Was this the setup you were riding out on the? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, out on the. I already forgot the name of it because I have too many things going on at once, and I can't scroll back up far enough. The salsa ride. Oh, that looks like a pretty rad bikepacking setup there. I got that up here, right? Yeah. Devil's drivetrain, as they say. Yeah, so Patrick was saying distances out here are big. You run out of places you can bike to pretty quick, especially in the Southwest where water is concerned. Yeah. Good to have four wheels to get you somewhere and bike from there. Yeah, I could see that. And even like when we had Micah on the live show and they were talking about doing the Fool's Loop. Oh, Rusty made it. What's up, dude? They were talking about how just far it took to get out of the city before they were actually on the trail, and why, Albert was saying, like, let's skip this part because he had already done it. But Micah was like, well, I haven't done it. I want to see it. But yeah, that seems like it makes the distances pretty big too. Like here in like Akron or Cleveland, I would say almost any of the cities in Ohio, you're almost only 10 to 15 minutes to being on a bike path that doesn't feel like you're in the city anymore. So yeah, different. That's what I was thinking. Out west would be a situation where you would definitely want that kind of adventure ride, or it would make way more sense if you could swing it to have one of those. So Rick said, dude, still this early. Al Farley said he got a flat checking out the Moon Tower trails on Tuesday. Interesting. Yeah, there are. So even though it's fairly smooth going because it used to be all paved, a huge, rail yard. The thing out there by the Moon Tower trails, there'll be a root or like a piece of busted concrete once in a while if you're not paying attention.
Keith Pearson became a member.
Hey, Keith, thanks a lot, man. Welcome to the gang. Yeah. Also, if you link up, I think, Keith, did you join the Discord? But if you link YouTube in the Discord, there's membership channels over there. So do that. But I appreciate it. So. Yeah, Rusty said perfect timing on this topic. Yeah, I was just scrolling through some Google image search of the van life type photos. But yeah, so Rusty had said over in the Discord, which I was just mentioning, that he was going for a trail run with some friends. So timing was incredible for that sound. Yeah. I do like how, wrong buttons. Let's see if I could get these back up here. Oh, did I accidentally close that window? Shoot. Let's see where we're at. Oh, Pudgy thought I made that noise with my mouth. Rick said, "Yo, Keith, don't forget your complimentary case of beer from Tim." I did mention this last week. If you're a member and you haven't, I do have some stickers with the logo that Pixel Wolf drew, and so DM me in the Discord if you haven't gotten one, and I'll send one out to you. So, and then we're about to do another giveaway, and one of the things with members, the members get a giveaway whether they're present in the live streams or not. So that'll be coming up soon, and I'll drop those details. Same with the meetup ride. There'll be a couple of things, and the members, whether they can show up or not, will be able to get those. And depending on what we decide to do, will be whether they're just heavily discounted at cost or free. We'll have to have this discussion. So yeah, we'll chat about that in the members Discord. So see what everyone thinks. Speaking of the meetup, I'll drop that link for anyone who hasn't seen it. Me and Large Marge rode together last night. We were talking about going out and riding the route and getting it dialed in. So we'll do that so everyone can see the map, know the mileage, know the elevation, all that kind of thing. And then we also want to double check, because these are, like I've said before, these are not official roads. These are not, places we even know if we're allowed to ride. It's just what we're going to do. So we want to make sure all that's cool. And then, but the place we wanted to stop for lunch, Hopping Frog, which is a world-renowned brewery, and it's right by the Rubber Bowl, that abandoned stadium, if you've seen in the videos that a number of you have mentioned you wanted to see. So they have announced that they will be open by then. So that's exciting news. It was one thing I was a little worried about. And even though that's not quite halfway, it's the farthest point we'll be away from here. So it's kind of the perfect spot. And it overlooks the hangar where Goodyear and Zeppelin had their collaboration and made dirigibles and made Zeppelin. So it's something we kind of take for granted in Akron, but is an amazing building to be able to check out and see. It's the largest building in the world without internal structure. So basically like an arched setup. So pretty interesting. So that's cool. That's good to know. And then me and Large Marge were saying we'll also ride it like the trail, like at least key parts of it like a week before the meetup, just to make sure everything's still rideable. Because like I said, there's one spot we want to include, and the last time we went out there, all of a sudden all this stuff has been like dumped. So it's not rideable right now. So going with a route like this that is hopefully super interesting also has some challenges. Oh, then Farley said in time for the Brood X invasion. I was talking to a friend about a summer trip we have planned, and he was like, will we be riding through the cicadas at that point? And I was like, I think they're going to be earlier than that, but it might be about the meetup time. Hey, what's up, Pixel Wolf? I was just talking about sending out some more stickers that you designed for me. So JMZ says sounds dangerous. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not dangerous, but Urbanowski with largest building in the world without internal structure. I thought that was pudgy. That's a solid joke. Make sure you get your tetanus shot. Yeah. I'm comfortable. I'm cool on that one because I tripped in. I think I've showed this before. I got a nice scar here from tripping and smashing a glass window in an apartment. Well, how long do tetanus shots last? Are those like 7 years or something? Or is that just 7 years of bad luck? Dylan was saying he listened to a podcast about the 27-year cicadas. Yeah, I think we were talking about the cicadas on one of these streams before, but if you're not from the area, they're basically an insect that is in the ground forever. It climbs up a tree every, well, he's 17, yeah, 17 years. The last time they came out, I was working at Blossom Music Center. If you're not familiar with Blossom, it would consider it's an big outdoor amphitheater compared to like Red Rocks out west or something like that, but that's the vibe. But the parking lots are huge old farm fields, and there's fence posts and trees. And we had a weed whack, and the cicadas come up out of the ground. They like make those. They make a shell, and then they whatever metamorphose into the bug that flies around. But so being someone who had a weed whack every single tree and fence post during the cicada, whatever you call it, awakening, I don't know, was horrible because you're just basically all these insects, and you would walk in for lunch just covered in insect parts. So yeah, we'll actually be riding out that's where Blossom is, right down the street from where Molinar lives. We won't be too far from there. So Pixel says the cicadas in Minnesota are annual. Interesting. And you see the ones that are off, so you'll find a shell on a tree almost every year, but it becomes like crazy when they are out. Like you're out hiking and they're noise, like you could hear their wings. We always said me and my friends, like they're kind of the bombers of the mosquito world. You feel like this, so really cool. But oh, so Patrick was saying the same thing. They kind of have an every year thing. So Keith said when you walk under a tree filled with them, it's not rain that's falling. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, the ones we get, I would say, are like I could probably pull some up on my Flickr account from the last time they were here, is when I was into photography, so I know I was before I was professional, but I know I photographed them all over everything. Let's see if I actually tagged them. Cicadas. Oh, I put two C's in there. Oh yeah, that's so. Yeah, they just cover everything in the park still. They would cover everything everywhere, but we've concreted most everything over. Yeah, so this is what they look like when they're alive. You usually just see their shells on the tree, and the shells. There's the shell. So yeah, there's no bug in there. They've already emerged out the back of that shell. So yeah, this is if anyone's locally, this is Hampton Hills, not the mountain bike area, but the hiking area where I photographed these. So, okay, so here's an actual insect right next to the shell that it would have been in. Protein on the go. Tim pitching the cicadas as free appetizers for the group of chocolate covered, right? JMZ said riding with a bandana. So I've always carried this. Like if I'm working somewhere, I will bring like the medical mask and then put this over. But like this time of year, bombing down to like the little valleys here in Ohio, I think I talked about this, but it's become like a real thing where if having the shades and then being able to do this, not to inhale all those little swarms of flies, or even Dylan had brought up the mayflies that come off Lake Erie and all that stuff, which are nuts. Yeah, I don't think the bandana is going to go away for me when it comes to riding a bike. This is something I'm always going to have on. I'm kind of in the habit of having one around, anyways, from my days as a farmer, because we always did have them around us. But yeah, They make sense. If you live in Northeast Ohio, this is a buggy area. That's kind of a cool photo. What lens did I shoot this with? For the camera nerd. So this is a Canon 60. Oh, it's my Sigma 35 1.4 f1.4. This actually shot at f5. It says. I don't know how that's f5. Look how shallow that depth of field looks. But I still use that lens. I was using it at a today is Nurses Day, and as I think we all know, nurses deserve all the credit in the world this year. So they're giving them awards, and it was like the first true professional event I've been shooting since the pandemic. I was actually using that lens for that. That's kind of a cool photo. Kind of forgot I took these. That Canon 6D still works, by the way. I carry it on my bike. I've carried it on all the bike tours, and I put like a really small, like 50 millimeter lens on it or whatever, because it's still this kind of quality and this kind of background blur, but I don't have to worry about it because I'm 2 generations deeper on cameras by it since then. Rusty said there's a place in Missouri that makes ice cream with cicadas. I think I would just know what I'm crunching on, and I try not to be like a baby with that kind of stuff, but I think it would. I think it would bother me. So, exoskeleton. That's what. Yeah, the shell obsolescence is talking about. Yeah, Pixel was saying good idea on the handkerchief. Yeah, it's even where you live. I bet like the bugs get horrible like spring, summer. Yeah, it's just such a good idea to always have them. Hey, what's up, Grant subject? Pixel was talking about keeping the handkerchief just for blowing your nose and stuff like that. Oh, Dylan bought a new bike. It will be here in 3 months. Drop us a hint, man. Yeah, the bandana thing though, I've got the same way too. Because one, I don't like Kleenex and reusable stuff. I have so many of these now, even before the pandemic, but now even more since it. But yeah, it's reusable. You wash it. You could wash it in the sink. Yeah, just a better way to live. Yeah, cicadas everywhere. They're about to be everywhere again. We're gonna have to Google what Dylan got because that's not one that's familiar to me off the top of my head. Pudgy says he knows, so you guys have been chatting about this in DMs, I assume. Huh? Like my googs is running slow. Huh? It's not loading. Oh, here we go. Ah, so full suspension mountain bike is what we're looking at. Did this pull up the actual? Let's see. Starling Cycles Swoop Trail 27. Oh yeah, we got it on here. That's it. 140 millimeters of travel, and it's a hand-built steel frame. Oh, these are British bikes, huh? Nice. Oh yeah, Pixel was asking. I missed Jay Dandy. Oh, the what are you selling joke. And Patrick said full squish. Pixel was asking this question, and I think Rick might have a good answer as well. Pudgy would have a good answer, but a good starter camera. Uh, One of the nice things about the Rebels is that if you start to upgrade your lenses, you'll still be have a way to adapt them if you want a nicer camera body down the road. But but they're also still a little bigger by modern standards. So if you want to carry it on a bike, like I said, the one large Marge has been using has been amazing. Is large Marge still awake? Is that the M50 or the M200? Because the photos he's been taking, especially for online use, have been amazing, and it's an interchangeable lens. So the M series of Canon is really nice in there too. And I just know Canon. Canon's not the best brand by any means. They're even with all the good brands. So, yeah. Yeah, Rebels are nice because the price, you're going to get more out of them than you could imagine, but everything depends on budget too, you know. The lenses are where it's at. So, like I said, I have photos that are 11 by 14 hanging here in the studio that I took with that Rebel, but I had nicer lenses at the time. So this photo behind me is actually taken with a film Minolta and then printed digitally. So, oh, large Marges is the M200. That's a can't. I mean, I think large Marge would recommend it, and I think I would recommend it too because you have a series of lenses you could buy for it, and it has a really good size. Like size is much. It's much smaller than even the Rebels, which is kind of nice if you're gonna want it on your bike. I think that's kind of a huge benefit. So back to Dylan's bike, he was saying trying to take some mountain bike trips this fall and some of the gnarlier trails. So yeah. JMZ was asking about crop sensors going mainstream for professionals. It seemed like it was going to go that way, JMZ, but it's gone the opposite way, whereas full frame has come down in price that it's rare to see a pro shooting with a crop sensor. Some of the Fujis I think are crop sensor, and the Pentaxes still do crop sensor. But when it comes to like Canon, Nikon, Sony, they have such affordable full frame cameras now. And when I mean affordable, I mean by professional standards that don't mess with crop sensors anymore. I mean, I started on crop sensors, my 7D. I shot full on professional gigs with a crop sensor, but now I have no reason for them because one, I'll buy an expensive camera, but even my 6D is full frame, which was on the lower end of the price spectrum. So, but camera sensors are getting so high quality that it goes both ways. Like, I'm again now a modern crop sensor camera would be so much better than my Canon 7D was that you could use it for professional work. You run into a depth of field issue if that is something you care about. If you're a portrait photographer, full frame, medium format are going to have a huge advantage. If you shoot mostly events, like I cut off so much of my image and image quality when I do an event like I did today, that a crop sensor would have no effect on those images that I sent them because I already downsized those images so much because they don't need to deal with these massive files that my R5 can shoot, but I need those massive files when I work in the studio, or they're a big benefit to me for retouching in the studio. So Patrick was saying he thought he'd mentioned that Heather took the advice and got a carved out B17. She's stoked. Yeah, that's what Aaron loves, her carved B17 as well. And I switched my Raleigh, which we rode this weekend, put one of my older B17s onto it, and I loved it. So Farley said he just got a B17 from Century yesterday. He didn't like the C17. Yeah, that's so far. That seems we've had this discussion on this channel a lot about whether you like the C17 or the B17s, and it's totally personal. Pudgy's a C17 guy. Yeah, it's totally personal. I'm not gonna My friend Funny Brad, as you guys call him, who's been on the show, loves his C17. We did 17 miles on that West Virginia trail where a lot of it was rough. I was so glad I'd put my B17 on, but he is someone who's totally happy with his C17. So just totally, it's so personal. Oh, Pixel was saying, too bad Robin isn't here tonight because he's a big camera guy as well. Rusty likes the C's as well. And like I said, I haven't tried them. I'm just to me, I like the when I put the B17 on the Raleigh, it felt like a brand new bike, like extra squishy. It felt like I had let like 15 psi out of my tubeless tires. Like really, that's not an exaggeration or a lie, but that's how it feels to me. So, like I said, Otis, when he sold me the B17 I ride on my trek, which I love, he felt like it beat him up. You know what I mean? And we look like two guys with similar builds, tall, fairly lanky, and it did nothing for him, and I love it. So, back to the cameras, doing the two topics again at once. Um, Pudgy was saying crop sensors are nice for the reach. Whenever I would read that a crop sensor is nice for the reach, it's just a crop. So, as old phones used to do before when they only had one lens, if you were cropping in, all it's doing is zooming in, and you could do that after the fact. So I've never counted that when they say like, well, it gives you more reach on your lens. Well, I have that reach. When I put the photo on my computer, I could just crop in. So I've never saw that as an advantage, and it's nothing against crop sensors, but I don't see that as an advantage to crop sensors. I would rather have the information there than I could choose if I want to get rid of some of the stuff on the edge. But yeah. James, he's up. Oh, Pixel's talking about his new bike too, which he was saying he has a weird setup doing 35s by 700C on the back and 38 on the front. Pan racers. I don't think that's um I don't think that's weird. I thought about doing that when I got my new tires for the Raleigh because I'm limited to 42s on the Raleigh because the chain stays, being an older 2014 gravel bike. But I had thought about if Dirty River had a wider Rene Urs tire in there, going wider on the front just to fit the widest tire I can to make it more comfortable. So I was agreeing with you, Pudgy. I wasn't arguing with you. I was arguing with the internet and the commenters. So when you were talking about the croppers, I was totally on the same page. Yeah. Rusty, so when you said B17 as leather, not cool, do you mean cool in the literal sense or cool in the sense that you think it's too much maintenance to take care of a leather saddle? Because like I've said before, I mean, this is Ohio. We do get a lot of rain here, way more than you guys get out there, and I don't have a problem taking care of a leather saddle. But you do have to pay attention to what you're doing. You have to make sure, one, if you're going to be on a multi-day trip, you have a cover, or if it gets really wet, you need to have a place to let it dry, put a fan on it before you ride it again, and re-proofide it again, or re-leather treat it again. But horse saddles were never any different. Almost all saddles were leather before the 70s, as I've said before the 80s. Um, I don't think it should be a discouragement. If you're more comfortable with leather, um, people wear leather shoes. You know, there's ways to take care of it. So, and then Rick was saying, yeah, he loves the Fuji's, cropped or uncropped, doesn't matter. And yeah, how good sensors are today, it doesn't matter. It does matter in a depth of field sensor. That's a physical limitation on a crop sensor. You can't get the same depth of field at the same focal length, period. Physics, the way it is. But yeah, I like full frame too because less pixels spread out means they're better in low light. You can't change that. So yeah, so what Patrick's talking about with the different size tires is totally true. I've heard Ronnie Romance talk about that. You don't need to run the same tire on the front as on the back either. He was talking about if you are someone who understands tires a lot and you experiment with them, you'll find a different combination works for you. I've heard Jan Hein, who Bicycle Quarterly, Renee Erst say the same thing, that like there's no reason that you have to run the same tire or the same tire width on the front and the back. So mountain bikers were mountain bikers have been doing this for a long time. I know. So Jay Dandy said that Russ at Pathless Pedal has been running plus casings in the front and regular casing or extra lights and are in the so the plus in the back where they might take a harder impact and extra light in the front. I think that makes total sense because in general, I'm able to I'm not good at bunny hopping and I don't ride clipless. I could pull my front wheel real easily, but once in a while I mess up the timing and I don't shift my weight forward and my back tire impact. So Jay Dandy, I think that makes total sense to have a stiffer casing in the back for someone who rides the way I ride, which I would assume a lot of people do, or a lot of people are less skilled. Not that I'm a bad bike handler, but like I said, I'm not someone who's ever going to bunny hop something the size of a pumpkin, you know? So, Lanky was saying mountain bikers will also go smaller wheel size in the back. So, why were you guys saying Rusty's vegan? I know Dylan is vegan. I didn't know Rusty was vegan. I must have missed that comment. But oh, a reason to go leather and not to go leather is if you're vegan. Makes total sense. Was not thinking about that. Yeah. Even when I was vegetarian, so I was never no animal products. So I was vegetarian for 7 years where I didn't eat meat, didn't eat fish, didn't eat eggs, but still always ate cheese and would not have thought about that kind of stuff. Yeah. Pudgy has just texted me to remind me that vegans don't use leather, which makes total sense and something I'm not thinking about. And something I, for the record, have no problem with. So just what was that thing I hated the most when I was vegetarian? I'd be like, I'm vegetarian. They'd be like, do you eat fish? And I was like, no, I'm vegetarian. Like, why is that the first question out of your mouth? I don't know. I never got it. Oh, Farley was saying for his leather saddle, he has a shower cap. Yeah. Well, Rick was saying, but so this is what I was going to. You don't need a saddle. Like the whole point is the not killing animals for because we don't need to anymore. Which we don't need to anymore. So I get it. For the record, I've never bought a new B-17, so no animal was actually killed directly on my behalf, but they were for the dinner I had when I was out the other night. So just a joke. Oh, Dylan was saying if you run way bigger in the front, it'll slacken the head angle. That's true. It'll change the geometry of your bike if you change them dramatically. You know, I got to assume that would be fairly minimal if you're going like 38 to 40, 40 to 42. So, but again, you might want that effect. So, but that is a good point, Dylan, that it would change the geometry. Oh, so Patrick says here that Panaracer made Smoke and Dart rear and front tires meant to go together, same width but totally different tread. Huh. And then I didn't know that it was Large Marge and Yonda at the bike shop pointed out to me about how which tires were though? They were putting them what looked backwards to me on the bike, but they were calling it the climbing tread pattern. If Large Marge wants to jump in, if he knows what I'm talking about, there was a tire that I looked at his tire and I'm like, you put that on backwards. And he's like, no, you put it on backwards. So, yeah. Lanky was asking me who's going to win the Giro. And if I was a betting man, I would have a hard time. Simon Yates is definitely the favorite. I don't He's the way he's going right now. Definitely Simon Yates. Egan Bernal, if his back doesn't go back, this is exactly what GCN said, but they're right. Egan Bernal, because he's got Ineos behind him. My heart is all in on EF and Hugh Carthy, but that's like I just feel like I have a team in the playoffs this year, so someone with a chance to win. It's interesting. I was telling Aaron on our way home tonight that I love the classics. They're my favorite races, but there's just something different about the energy behind the Grand Tours, and especially like with the Tour de France. I like the Giro better than the Tour, but when the Tour de France comes up, it's like, my dad knows who Chris Froome is. He doesn't know who anyone who's ever won a classic is. So it bumps the sport that I love up into another category. And I think the same thing happens with just the Grand Tours are every day. The energy just keeps building. Every day is a race. So, yeah, but I think definitely Simon Yates and Egan Bernal. I just think Yates is going to be super hard to beat the way he's going, and has a decent team behind him. But Hugh Carthy's who I want to win. So. Oh, Pixel's just recovering from his shot. I I was just a little slow. I mean, I still went out and rode my bike. My second Pfizer didn't really have that much of a effect on me. So Dylan was saying, so as you guys know, I am not like in the mountain bike world. The trails we have around here, I ride on my gravel bike. He was saying mountain bike companies do make front and rear specific tires. Oh, so Lanky was mentioning Surly does that. Interesting. Pudgy said WTB Velociraptors. They have one you run backwards. Opposite rotation, Dylan. That's what I was kind of talking about. Yeah, Keith was saying kind of the same thing about the Dillingers. I was ranting about the Giro. Oh, so Large Marge was saying the rear 45 North studded tires go on backwards for better grip. Those are what I'm running on my Trek 4900. That's not my winter bike. And they were kind of calling it the climbing setup. And I just put them in the tread pattern that looked natural to me. And they were saying you would flip them around. Jay Dandy. Yeah, I think, Pixel was saying is that, some tires are going to run smoother putting them with the arrow. Yeah. Landa, I felt bad so back to the Giro. I felt bad for Landa when he could have won, what was that? The Tour when he was riding on Team Sky and they held him back. But then he has shown nothing and just bounced around for teams between different teams since then. So I don't know. I had a ton of sympathy for Landa when I felt like he could have won on what was that crazy climb in the Tour that goes up the airport road? It's amazing. It's like a 25% gradient. The pros look like they can barely make it. That year I felt so bad for Landa and then kind of became a fan, but he just really hasn't proven anything since then in my mind. Like, he's gone on to lead other teams and bounced around and yeah. I don't know. Definitely still feel bad for him from back in the day, but he just hasn't shown anything since then. So I don't see him ever winning a Grand Tour, but I wouldn't be mad if he proved me wrong either. So Greg LeMond always wins, even when they try to sabotage him. Yeah, LeMond's my favorite. I mean, if I had to be my favorite rider of all time, it would be LeMond, right? Landa Armstrong, the yellow bracelet guy banging Sheryl Crow. All right, it's 10:15. Let's take a piddle break. I need a piddle break. I had my missing falls, and I'm gonna have one more beer, and I need to run to the restroom, and then yeah, I've been reading the nerd out on the front and back tires, which has been really interesting because I didn't. It's not. I knew different sizes were possible, but the tread pattern thing was something that Large Marge and Yonda told me about. So, Pixel's out. Good to see you, Pixel. Glad you could stop by. See you in the Discord. Hopefully, I'll make it up for one of your live streams. So, Pixel streams his art. Like I mentioned before, he drew the logo for this channel. But he streams on Twitch Eastern time. It's midnight. So, yeah, check it out if you get a chance. I just rarely make it up that late anymore. But he works till 11, so it's the only time he could do it. So, yeah, glad you were able to join us again. And we'll be right back. Hey, we are going to take a quick break right now. Grab yourself a drink, hit the restroom, smoke them if you got them. But first off, we do want to thank the members. On a small YouTube channel like this, the channel members really make a difference. They make it so we could do this with the frequency I like to do it and the quality I like to bring to the videos. It helps out a lot. So I appreciate the members. We have a few different levels, and you can check out that link in the chat right now or in the description of this video. Also, I know everybody has all kinds of little ways they get nickel and dime these days with subscriptions. So if you can't help financially, that's no problem. Go ahead and hit the like button right now. Let's bump this channel up in the algorithm a little bit. So we'll be back shortly. And one more time, thank you, channel members whose name you see on screen right now. I want a tuna boat. I'll give me tuna boat. Let that song for a minute, a little bit while I pour beer. Foam on the beard. Hat all out of. Rusty asked Patrick, how tall is you be? Oh, Lanky was saying the song is not vegan or vegetarian. That's true. I won't respond to the next one. Yeah, pescatarian. You could be a pescatarian and enjoy that song for sure. The font is condescending. Oh, Farley said he's on leave for violating the drug policy at work. I did that new voiceover when I was acting. He's not even here tonight, is he? Mulk Hogan was the newest member. Well, before Keith joined, but yeah. So he was added to the video for tonight's episode, and so I'm like, oh, it's time to do a new voiceover too. But "Smoke 'em if you got 'em" came out of my mouth, and then I'm like, why'd you say that? Then I'm like, I'm gonna keep going anyways. I gotta get this done. So. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool enough with that, Oh man, Pudgy. Yeah, no mulk, no mulk. On Tuesday when I mentioned that, I'm like, I didn't have time to remake the video, and he was like, so. Oh, speaking of the Giro, Patrick's name is Tripod. I was really digging. I like EF's kit this year in general, but since their kit's so pink this year, they have switched it out again to have a special kit, so they don't, because the leader of the Giro wears pink, whereas if you're not a pro cycling fan, the leader, the Tour de France wears yellow, and the Giro it's pink, so that matches. So EF came up with this kit. That's what I was talking about. It's kind of like the La Vie Claire. It reminds me of that, but in black. And I thought it looked pretty rad. Well, I got to agree to these. I'm hoping they make I hope they have caps this year. So last year their partnership was with that British skateboarding company. I can't even remember the name, but the stuff sold out like in like 2 seconds. So I'm hoping they make this stuff a little more available. Not that I don't wear jerseys this tight, so I'm just hoping they do some of like the caps and stuff like that I actually would wear, the water bottles, stuff like that. But the other thing is the Cannondale bikes painted up in this color scheme, I think look super rad. Not that I would ever buy an $11,000 Di2 shifting road bike on 25 millimeter tires, but still looks super, super rad to me. What was the ad? Pudgy said last year's kit was fugly. Yeah, it was. It created such a splash, which is what they wanted. Palace was the name of the company. I liked it because it was. I think yeah, it was so out there is what made it kind of cool. But you know, they were doing something intentionally to grab attention. Intentionally to grab attention. God, that's a horrible English sentence. But yeah, you don't like that kit, Pudgy? Yeah, I mean, I like it because it's almost like a 90s vibe, which 90s are back in style, but without being all white. I just don't like stuff that's so white. So I definitely dig the kit. Their goal, they were saying, is to kind of represent the flags of the world. So it's kind of like the World Championships colors, but done in a La Vie Claire style, if that makes sense to anybody. I dig it. I think it's cool. Not crazy about white socks, I think, but yeah. Yeah, Pudgy was saying Palace. It's kind of like Europe Supreme. That's exactly the vibe I got. I don't even know what Supreme really is, but what what Supreme's logo is, and I guess that is exactly what Palace is. So there was no brand deal this year with it, which is kind of interesting. I thought after how well that went last year, they would do a brand. Maybe they tried to do a brand deal, and it didn't. It just didn't happen. That's how cycling is. But so I'm hoping they make the stuff more available this year. So Jay Dandy said he dug it as a one-off last year. Parma socks, yeah, half Cleveland, right? Yeah, so this is actually on Slipstream, EF's the real name of EF website. I looked up Rafa. They don't have any of it listed yet. So last year when they announced the deal with Palace, that stuff went on sale, disappeared instantly, was on eBay for 4 times the cost within like a second. And I actually didn't like the jerseys that much last year, but the caps and like the stuff that went with it, like the socks, the musette bags, I thought looked kind of cool. So Pudgy was saying, I honestly don't think Supreme is anything other than a logo slapped on red things with outrageous prices to be a money flex. I think you're right. Yeah. Um, I think that's what Supreme looks like to me. It always has. Realized I had left a little bit in the missing falls can, so. Well, where's my mouse at? Yeah, so last year with the duck and everything, basically, right, Palace is graphic designers who own a company. It was what our Supreme is too, right? So it worked. It did what it's supposed to do. Everybody is still talking about EF and the kit from last year, So in cycling, you're, cycling is not riding a bike doesn't make money. Not like football. The TV rights don't cover it. The sponsors cover it. So the concept totally worked, right? So really, Rick was saying the cycling fashion photos make him want to start bowling. The woman who shoots EF stuff, I follow her on Instagram. She is a brilliant photographer, and I would. So when it comes to EF photos, I would disagree. I think, you, like okay, right over here where the mouse. Well, can I make the mouse? No, I don't have the mouse turned on for here. But the one next to Betty All with the mountains in the background, or even this one, I think they're great lifestyle photos. But her stuff for the bike ride, like this photo, that's killer. Like they're not boring studio photos or anything. This one down here in the bottom of the mountains with the team low in the background. But really follow. Let me see if I could find her name and drop it because it's Gruber, something Gruber, Ashley Gruber. Yep. Her photos from the races are absolutely killer, and the work she puts into getting the right look. I think it's her account, but I think it's a wife and husband team. She's the lead, so a wife and husband team. But the photos are absolutely beautiful. Here's the Instagram account. Yeah, I'm all yeah. That kind of marketing stuff is so fascinating, right? As Pudgy was saying, he's interested in the story behind Supreme, but yeah, one thing EF has done right, in my opinion, is hired the one of the best photographers I've ever seen in this kind of world. Other teams sometimes I see these horrible. The portraits will be these like that dimly lidded front face with like the highlights on the side. I don't know. Everyone has their own taste, though. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, Ashley Gruber, I think, is top notch photographer. Yeah, I'll pull some of this up here. Instagram doesn't show well on the streams because it makes them so small, but she definitely finds the spot. She shoots long, and she definitely compresses. Like, look at that. That's just killer. Shoots with long lenses in general. Um, Definitely knows what her background is going to be. Once in a while, she'll do that modern style flash photography that you see more common in cycling. But for this day, it makes perfect sense because it's showing how crazy the weather was. Um, yeah, I mean, you have to know what you're doing to get in that spot to catch that photo. That's all there is to it. Especially during a race. If you have all the time in the world, that's a different story. Promo photos, you set them up where you want them. But to get where she gets during the races is just, yeah, stuff like this. Amazing. Yeah. On the pave. Oh, yeah, Lanky. It's not my fault, Lanky. Hates hates American teams and style. So Nike probably likes Movistar and their tactics, right? But that's why he's cheering for Landa, right? You like the 3 liter. You like the 3 liter strategy, Lanky. Is that what works for you? So that worked out really well. Have Landa and Nairo and just see who could win. Worked out so well. Nairo went on to a pro continental team after that. By the way, Lanky's never said that Movistar is his team. I'm just. Oh, we got Rusty's pick. Oh, what is that? Rusty's got an Above the Clouds by Equilibrium, it looks like. Double IPA. Oh, and hey, look, that's me in the background. The tripod. But you said like he rides a road bike made by mountain bikers. Oh, Keith has a photo of a cicada from the last visit. Oh, look how different that looked from the cicadas that I photographed. Huh. Are the broods different? Are there different breeds of cicadas? Like maybe the guys out west were saying the yearly cicadas. Yeah, because the ones I was showing had those beady red eyes and everything. But like he said, he's always saying mountain bikers did it first, so why not join them? Yeah, to a point, right? Tubeless mountain bikers are right about. They're right about suspension for what they ride, but I don't believe gravel bikes need suspension. I believe you're right. So, Rusty was saying he thinks Santa Cruz has a huge markup on those. So, and then so when it comes back to the cicadas, Keith was saying different broods do look different. I didn't know that. They're in different teams with different kits. Plus, it's Zero. They're dressed in black. You can't have the red beady eyes. It looks like you're leading the Vuelta. One thing I forgot to check, because we get more custom emojis the more members that we have. So I need to double check to see if we could get some more on here now that we've had some more members in here. So stuff like this. But so if you link up in the Discord, the members who haven't, I think we'll like vote or have a conversation on what the custom emojis should be going forward. Whether it's Funny Brad's tattoo or whatever it may need to be. So get a bear claw, of course. I like how the latest subscriber's name is Hot as Sunglasses. I think that should be my next poll to. Oh, he says. Keith said green ones are the annual ones. Okay. I think my next poll should be like how many people care about pro cycling, because I talked about this early on. I started the live stream because I wanted to learn how to live stream and offer it as a service, but I started it during the Tour de France last year, which had been moved later in the season, so it was fall, or not fall, but late summer. It's usually July, so I knew that would give me something to talk about. Just to try and ramble for an hour, I would talk about like the daily Tour de France stuff. This group is much more gravel oriented now, which is fine because that's what I'm also like my kind of cycling. But I would be interested to put up a poll to see how many people care about pro cycling. Like in the Discord, we have the pro cycling group, but it's usually me and Lanky and what's his name? Drawing a blank, like I do when I need to call up a name. Oh, David Pett on the Discord. He has a different name on Instagram though, but definitely like more of a roadie dude. But I like to chat about that stuff, but I'd be interested to see how many people care about it at all anymore. So I'm going to be watching it no matter what and chatting about it. I actually created a Twitch stream originally to be able to do like pro cycling type stuff, but YouTube has just taken over and I don't mess with that anymore. So Rusty doesn't care about pro cycling. So Lanky said he's going to start a GoFundMe for Pudgy's Bear Claw. Yeah, it's funny because like I don't. Oh, so JMZ said love watching it, very relaxing, loving the behind the scenes team videos. So it's interesting because I don't own a piece of kit like besides caps. Like this is not a pro team cap, but like I don't wear bibs. I don't wear tight jerseys. I don't even ride clipless. I don't even have one bike set up clipless. But I always like sports and I don't watch football, basketball, pretty much any of that stuff anymore. But pro cycling's tactics are so interesting to me because the thing about like pro cycling is the fastest person doesn't win. Like I was talking about on a stream during one of the classics, the Queen of the Classics, the oldest, no, about the Amstel Gold Race, the women's Amstel Gold Race, like where like one of my favorite riders, Cassia Nuadoma, went up the road. She couldn't get the other rider to work for her, and so she wouldn't work, and they both like ended up coming in ninth and 10th instead of first and second. Like the crazy tactics of pro cycling is just what becomes so fascinating to me, and just keeps it really, really interesting. Whereas, you wouldn't watch a marathon on television. Like really, the fastest guy kind of wins. Pro cycling's not like that, where most of the time the smartest team wins. In mountain stages, a lot of times maybe the fastest, toughest guy wins, but even that can come down to tactics. It's just really interesting how much planning goes into winning a bike race and what you're trying to do and breakaways and that whole like it's fast. It's like chess. It's closer to chess than it is to running, in my opinion. So, yeah. Lanky was saying watch party, and maybe we do that on the Discord. Maybe like the voice channels on the Discord, we make a pro cycling one, and then if we all want it, we could either jump in with voice or video, or I think we'd be able to choose, so we could do some watch alongs. I think that would have to be like Queen stages and stuff like that. In general, I'm standing here working, and I talked about this before, but I have a TV right here. And my TV, I have GCN Plus or whatever it may be, NBC Sports Gold. So I have the races on, so I could like start paying attention at key moments, or just kind of have it on in the background and listen to the commentators while I work on editing photos and stuff like that. Because if you don't watch pro racing, with the time difference, pro racing is in the morning. If it's a huge race, they'll show the whole thing and it'll come on at like 2 in the morning. But, in general, they come on and then they end between like 11 a.m. and noon. So that's when the stages will end or a one-day race would end. So Rick was saying he's not interested, but he doesn't think I should stop talking about it. Jay Dandy was saying he likes watching people like Lachlan and Alex do epic adventures. Yeah, so Jay Dandy, the interesting thing is EF is still sponsoring these guys, and they do put them in some real races, but they also let them go and do what a lot of retired pros do, is like go off and try and win gravel races or endurance races. I think that's a cool thing that EF has been pushing. yes, it's marketing, but they're still actually doing it. Is letting those guys go off and like sell the brand by doing like really cool, fun, interesting events. Yeah, I'm surprised to hear Pudgy say he knows nothing about the strategy and tactics. Yeah, yeah. Crit racing is really different because, and they say that Pudgy was saying he likes crit racing, and I know like the what's his name, Beast, super popular YouTube channel, and an American team. They do more crit racing. He was saying that would make more sense to Americans because it just is like a more of a speed thing. It's actually less interesting to me because it's just speed. Pro racing is fascinating to me because it's like chess, like there's tactics. So, but that's just, the way it goes. Farley was saying skateboarding is the pro sport he likes. Yeah, it totally counts. I'm an old school skateboarder, Farley. Like that's where I come from. But again, one of the problems with skateboarding is it's a judged sport, so that could get frustrating sometimes. Bunch of you guys in your televisions. Rusty says he just doesn't think it's entertaining on roads. I think so. Rusty, like a good thing to do would be to watch like the long extended highlights of road racing, like a 30-minute highlight or a 20-minute highlight. I think it would make more sense then. Definitely, road racing could have 3 hours that don't matter in it. Like the peloton's there, the breakaway's there. It matters because like Tour de France, you could have it on the background. It's beautiful, and they'll talk about the country they're going through. If you care about like history and just like scenery, it's interesting. But the condensed highlights are interesting because then they're explaining the tactics that have gone on over 3 hours or 4 hours in 30 or 20 minutes. I think that'd be something maybe to start to pique your interest. A couple of my friends who never thought they would care about stuff like this came over to watch Paris Roubaix a few years ago, and now are like obsessed with pro cycling, and they're the same as me. They don't ever wear the clothes. They don't ever, none of that matters to them. But yeah. Rusty was saying Sling TV as a watch party feature. Yeah. Rusty was saying, Tim, do you have time to talk about our Lord and Savior Baker Mayfield? So here's the thing with football. Football would be, in general, for most of my life, my favorite sport to watch. And again, it's a lot like pro cycling. I played football in the backyard. We played all the time, but I didn't care about ever trying to play football. Like with football players, it's not my personality. I didn't get along with those people. Especially, I went to a small town football school, so. But the Browns have disappointed me for so long that I'm not giving up a nice Sunday that I could be riding my bike, especially in the fall in Ohio, to watch football. So if I'm over my parents for dinner or if I'm out at the bar pre-pandemic and there's football games on, I'll watch it. If the Browns start to get through the playoffs, I'm not a fair weather fan. The Browns are my only team, but now they have to prove it to me. I'm not giving up a Sunday afternoon for football until they start to do something amazing. So yeah, just a oh, you guys were talking. Justin Williams is who I was trying to talk about before. Nation's number one beast. Yeah, a great. Their stuff is super cool, super interesting, but I'll still take World Tour racing over that. You know. Yeah, Rusty was saying the rad races, the fixie races, red hooks. Red hooks are fun to watch. Yeah, I'm not shitting on any of that stuff. Like I like all of that, but I really think World Tour racing is the most exciting. I think like the classics, the monuments are just super fun to watch. So Pudgy Red Hook was just on a COVID break. I believe they'll bring that back. So, oh, you think it? Oh, Patrick said they took a break before COVID. So, because Red Hook really grew out of like I believe, and I think Large Marge knows more about this than me. Um, I think Red Hook was like a unorganized messenger race originally, and then it grew into the brand and the big races that it became. So hopefully they're able to bring that back. I felt like it had a lot of, you know, I felt like it had a lot of sway and a lot of people interested in that. So Lanky said he paid attention to football until he moved to Cleveland. I think I missed a lot of comments in there in my rants. Yeah, so GCM Plus, man. So when Russ said he was plugging his company, and they have the exclusive rights for the Giro now in the U.S. and a lot of other territories, which blows my mind. And I'm not mad about it because I think GCN does the best at covering. Daniel Lloyd is a brilliant commentator. He's someone who's finished the Giro. So and I like Eurosport. Eurosport doesn't talk to us like we're idiots. So not like they have to do in the U.S. Rusty slipped over to a modern times. Fruitland sour tropical fruit goza. Nice. Oh, and this beer is vegan and a little leggy, as if I do say so myself. Oh, he said that, so they did decide to chill out. And interesting with Red Hook. I didn't know that. Large March has been paused for a bit. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't pay attention earlier. I didn't watch any of that stuff in real time, so I wouldn't know. Oh, JMC says GCN hasn't figured it out with Roku yet. Okay, I haven't used them, but GCN started nailing it. So I use Fire TV here, desktop and phone app. They were always killing it on the phone. Then they went to desktop, which worked great, but now they have it figured out on the Fire TV. So for me, it's everything I need. I'm wondering if I need Flow Bikes anymore because NBC has exclusive rights for Paris Roubaix, the Dauphiné, and the Tour de France. So that's why I kind of keep them around. And then one other monument. Then I needed Flow Bikes for a couple of the other classics that those two didn't have, but now I think I don't need. I'm thinking next year I won't need Flow anymore. So hopefully, NBC had said they're going to give up their exclusive rights. If GCN could get the Tour and Paris Roubaix, I would bootleg the other races I couldn't get. Seriously. So, oh yeah, Dan Lloyd was definitely a domestique lanky. Dan Lloyd also had the KOM and parts of Strada Bianchi until Wout Van Aert took it from him. So he's no slouch. He's a 109th though in the Giro is 109th best in the world at doing the Giro. That's a lot of people. That's way up there. That's top 0.00001% of bike riders, right? But they know their shit and they just love it. That's what I like. I always wonder too, watching Dan Lloyd, because they've um, when they talk about like cycling and they talk about doping and they talk about it honestly on GCN, and I kind of appreciate that. But Dan Lloyd rode in like the heavy doping era, so it just makes you wonder. Like, I won't take anything away from any of the cyclists who had to ride in that era, except Lance Armstrong because he's a total piece of shit. But it's unfortunate. that era existed. And if you wanted to be a pro cyclist, that's what you had to do. But what if Dan Lloyd was 109th because he wasn't doping? You know, what if Dan Lloyd was a top 10 cyclist who could KOM on part of Strada Bianchi because he was that good? We'll never know. And that's the problem with that era. So, you know, just the dark age of cycling. So, Rusty was saying, I work for a cable provider, and our product and support teams have been working with Android, Roku, Apple, etc. Fire is by far the easiest to get an app approved and launched. Fair enough. Yeah. And I only bought a Fire TV, but not because I'm some Amazon fanboy, but because it was a Black Friday thing, and I had no idea. I just decided I wanted a TV that I could beam the internet to from here and watch my cycling racing. That's it. I went 4 years without television when I moved into the studio, and I'm like, I have my two screens where I'm editing it on. I want a third screen to watch pro racing, and so just lucky on that front. So, Pudgy. He was saying Daniel Lloyd might have been in Lantern Rouge at the tour, which means you came in last, which actually used to be a legitimate jersey you got, which is not anymore. But they still call it that, but it's not like a official Tour de France thing. Well, who is the classic? Pudgy said he's not into pro racing. There was that classics rider who was famous for partying and doing blow and all that kind of stuff. Who, God, one of those Tom Boonen. Yeah, Tom Boonen was kind of like the rock star cyclist of his day. So when you say 8 Ball, he would have been like right that guy. Lanky was saying there's a book about the Lantern Rouge that he would recommend. Oh yeah, I'll Google that for sure. I actually just gave Aaron Jan Hein's book tonight because I finished Otis's copy of it a couple last week or 2 weeks ago. But like we were talking about come winter, I think we really should do a book club. Like I said, I don't want to start it over the summer because I don't get through that many books in the summer. So with all the riding. All right, well, I think I got a spam text. I thought it was one of you guys telling, like, Large Marge telling me to abort, like, because that's happened before. Yeah, Lanky, now that we're into the vaccination, I ride in the snow, Pudgy, but even riding in the snow, you still usually end up home by like 6 o'clock, you know? Yeah, Linky, let's hit each other up about like the full vaccinated doing like a vintage bike ride or just a meetup gravel ride down in the valley, or if you could come out for one of our Wednesday night rides eventually when we get to that point where we start to expand them when everyone's vaccinated, that'd be awesome. But besides that, I think I'll wrap up for tonight. I checked in on the new computer. It's still not built yet because I really do want to get back into the shop and start doing like some more like fun things where we still do this, but then I also work on bikes and chat about that. Is this like he's asking about this is a Bayside shirt. No, this is actually the coffee shop that I was photographing for earlier, but riding the snow while reading a book. Yeah, Lanky's got to finish his bike before we could do the Lanky bike video. Hey, what's up, Blake? Blake. He said, thanks for doing these chats. Have you been to the tour in person? No. The only bike race I've watched in person in Europe was Paris-Roubaix. I watched the year that Peter Sagan won in the rainbow jersey, which was really sweet. We got to go to the Arenberg Forest and watch them finish on the velodrome. That's the only pro racing I've ever seen in my life. Last year, me and Aaron were going to go to Canada to watch the race they have there. That's typically the warm-up for the World Championships, but COVID ended all that, and they have not rescheduled that even for this year. So, yeah. But it's a goal to get back over there to see more of it and to ride more of it. All right, guys. I've got the West Virginia video dropping on Tuesday. Going to drop another video or record another video over the weekend for the week. But yeah. So that new video out on Monday morning. Live stream on Tuesday. Hopefully another video somewhere in the mix. And I will see you guys then. And where is the link to the outro? Peace.
Okay, bye.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is not a mistake.
Fitzwater photo.